There we go. We are live. Good evening, everybody. Dave, first off, the what do you got? The mark. There we go. He said,
I'm
"Good evening."
glad somebody's there because, when people are like, "Oh, it's just her again," like, let's just go to the chipper. Like, I'm glad
Yeah.
somebody is there.
Well, no, I think people know we're on at 7 o'clock, so they'll have had their chipper in a good time, so they can be sitting
Okay,
down
that's a
and
good point.
chatting. So good evening, Dave, who's watching on YouTube tonight. Don't
Hello,
forget
Dave.
that you can, if you wish, go on to YouTube and put us up in the big screen, as some of you I know do, and pour a dram and watch us like you're watching the telly, which sounds scary, but it also sounds fun. That's what I do when I'm not on the Blether, when you guys were taking over with when I had Killian
That
sat in
sounds.
front of the
I,
TV.
no, I'm more of a radio face than a big screen TV face, but
It depends on what kind of camera you've got, I suppose. You could just be this massive pixelated mess on a big
well,
screen.
before you log on, it gives you like a helpful tip for the night. It
Mm.
said, natural lighting helps make you look better. I'm like, oh, right, yeah, let's get some natural lighting in.
Yeah, I suppose it's lighter evenings now, so that's great. So we could just open the curtains and have that natural light. Because
Yeah.
Russell always used to look almost jaundiced with his orange light in his face. Um,
That's that red light at foggy shining in through the windows.
yeah.
Oh, Willis
Anyway,
has already had his fish and chips. Well done, Willis.
Willis is sorted. Yeah, prepared. Good evening, Dominic. Good evening, Willis, Rick, and Bob, all on Facebook. And good evening to Ian, who is on the good old YouTube. So tonight there's just the two of us. I say that in the most complimentary way, because unfortunately Kristiane, who was due to join us, double booked her Easter weekend and had to cancel on us. But she is going to be back. She is rescheduled, so will be joining us on the 27th of April. So we don't have long to wait. Is that 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah,
3 weeks, 21
3 weeks.
days. Yeah, 3 weeks away. So she will be joining us then. But we thought rather than scamper around and get a replacement, we are going to talk to Kat, our new Blether hostess, and
Hostess with most.
the hostess with the mostest. So one thing we did discuss, Russell and I think you maybe came in at the end of the discussion, was a theme tune for it, and I think you came up with a theme tune. Can you remember what it was?
I think we're going to change it every week, but I'm pretty sure it was the Blether, the Blether. Like, it's a work in progress. So, but like we could get some, like, percussion. You could do like maracas, and like I could do like a triangle, maybe.
I learned a really interesting fact today, completely going on theme tunes actually. Did you know that the person who did the finger snapping of the Addams Family and the James Bond xylophone, was it? No, it wasn't the James Bond xylophone. It was the Mission Impossible bongos and something else. They're all written by the same guy.
I
Something to do
feel
with the Simpsons xylophone. There we go. The Simpsons xylophone.
okay, because there was 2 points there. First, I was like, I wasn't sure that James Bond had a xylophone. I wasn't sure it was famous for it. And second, I feel like, if that's the peak of your musical abilities, that, anybody could take up music, to be honest. Like, finger snapping and doing that with a xylophone is not like Beethoven.
But how cool is that to be? That's like got to be three of the most famous tunes ever for theme tunes, and you've written all three. You didn't even write them; you just played the instrument on three of them. You didn't even play an instrument; you just clicked your fingers, and there we go. So
well, maybe that's
useless fact of the day.
like the Blether.
Yeah, we do get a bit Addams Family with our discussions, anyway, don't we? So yeah, good evening, guys. DBH is good on a triangle. There we go on YouTube. So
nice. Let's get them signed up.
Are you theme tune good? Let's send some samples and we'll see if we can get a theme tune going. Sounds good. Yeah. What's in your glass, Kat? What are we devouring tonight?
Nothing yet, but what I have is the samples from the Dram More tasting that you did with Kenny. So I've got three left. So you can actually tell me which one to go for first, because you tried them in the night. So I've got the Kristiane 9-year-old. I've got Macduff 9-year-old, and I have got Inchfad 15-year-old. Okay, bearing in mind I'm a bourbon fan. Which one are we going for?
I think the Macduff was bourbon, the Kristiane was sherry, and then the Inchfad was it's peated Loch Lomond. So
yeah,
so use that one last.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the Kristiane then. That's what I'm gonna put in my glass.
And Rick says that you need to get more whiskey in the background, more bottles in the background.
Yeah, I don't have a big selection.
You've probably got enough. You're just sitting right in front of them.
I am blocking the view. A lot of them are on the floor because I bought a bookcase and realized that books are taller. Books are smaller than whiskey, so none of them actually fit in the actual bookcase. Yeah, I need to get a taller bookcase and more whiskey. So yeah, that is my problem in life. Or if all the guys listening could just send me loads of little samples, like, you know, and I could just fill the bookcase with lots of little samples.
That sounds. I've got heaps of samples. It's one of the. If people think it's great, they say, "Oh, it must be great getting all these samples and have loads of whiskey in your head." But it's really not. Initially, yes, but you want to give, and to be honest, you want to give time to each sample, especially when somebody sent them to you for a review or as a gift or whatever the reason, with a view to buy. You want to give them their due time and attention and take, do a review.
Especially if it's just a little sample, you want to be like sitting with just that and have time to just try that.
Exactly. And you just don't get time to do it. And then if we do, we kind of focus on the ones that are maybe a harder sell, less known, because there are certain ones you think maybe something like a Glen Garioch or something is going to sell pretty quick. So we kind of leave that and we focus on ones that maybe need a bit more attention in the push. And so we've got all these samples. So I will give you whatever samples you require.
It's when you find the little mystery samples without the label, and obviously at the time you thought, I'm just going to put this.
Just number.
Yeah. And you're like, I'll definitely remember what that is because I'll try it later, and then you don't, and you're like, what is in that bottle? Like,
the clue is to save the envelope, and then you can see the post date, and then you go back to what tasting was on that night, and do it that way. That is one way of doing it. Juliet Buchan is on watching. She says, "I feel your pain."
I know. So, in terms of problems to have, it's probably not the worst problem to have. It's, too much whiskey to try. Like, oh me.
I'm sure there's plenty of guys out there who would help out, given the chance. Yeah. So who else have we got watching? We've got Alistair is over. He's watching in Louisiana.
Oh wow!
It's blooming hot out there. Talking again of problems that we wish we had. It's too hot out in Houma, Louisiana. There we go. DBH is watching. DBH. I feel like I really should know who DBH is, but the name.
I like the code.
Yeah. He's asking, what is he hinting at? I bought in the olden days of a Lagavulin 16 when it was cheap. Can't afford a new bottle to compare with. Hint, hint. Use your loyalty points and you get heaps of money off and you can bring it back down to that kind of £45, I think I remember it being back in the day. Ian Bruce has poured a Glen Garioch 2000 vintage handfill.
Just seen that. I think that one was Digger's Dram. I think that's when Kenny stepped down as manager, and that was the cask he chose, if I remember correctly. But I think it's maybe Digger's Dram, that one.
Awesome. Well, he got it for his 30th, and this year he's going to be 40. I feel your pain, Ian. Yeah, I'm another one hitting the 40 this year. Not till the end of the year, so I'm still 39 for a long time yet.
Do you know
I will hang on every single day of that.
I know. And you know what? If you're into whiskey, then you know that age is but a number. So, like, what else? Just pour yourself a dram.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm going to do. For my 40th birthday, I'm becoming non-age statement.
You should do. Oh my God, why has nobody thought of that before? A hashtag naughty statement. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I'll probably never get a birthday again, but it's worth it.
It is. Like, yeah, we'll do that.
DBH is Dominic. Dominic Hayes, of course. Dominic has been at the last couple of tastings. Good evening. And thank you for joining us. So he was at the Dramore tasting as well with yourself and Kenny.
He was. Do you know, I think it was the Oscar the Grouch picture that's thrown us a little bit, because I don't remember you looking quite that green.
Yeah, Ian, we're going to identify as non-age statements now. Well, talking of whiskey, it was maybe a bit unlucky to open this in your first, when this is a 13-year-old. We had a tour out on Saturday for a stag do. We were up at Glen Garioch, and they have these incredible vintage collection or reserve collection single casks in a Spiders Glen. I am not really generally a Glen Talkers fan. We have this kind of argument whether it's good or not. And I did say that the only Glen Talkers I ever found that I liked was all this reserve collection. So I thought I'm going to open this one. It's so we had a conversation when we had Gregor and Paul from Lady of the Glen on about a year ago, I think it was. And they're the same as what me and Russell were. We had one of us liked Glen Talkers, one of us didn't. I think Gregor loves Glen Talkers, but Paul's not a big fan, or vice versa. I think it's Gregor loves it. And anytime they go to bottle one, Paul always pushes back and say, "Oh no, we can't do Glen Talkers." And Russell loves it, and I'm not the biggest fan. So I'm going to pour this one and see what like that is. It was highly recommended from the guys at Glen Talkers, Glen Garioch. So let's see what it says. First of all, but 61.4%. So if I start rambling even more crap than normal.
It looks quite dark.
It is, yeah. I'm worried it's going to be too intense, too sherried. But
so I think I drove past Glen Talkers the other day. Is it out like you're coming into Keith, like you're heading off the bend up to, is it up that way?
So if you come out of Keith on the Inverness side, instead of taking the loop round to the right, you go straight on at that junction. It's out that direction. It's kind of the first distillery you come to.
Because Athrusk's the one after it, is that right?
Yeah.
Up that road.
Athrusk's like Mulben, the other side of Mulben. Yeah. So Glen Talkers is this side of Mulben, Athrusk's the other side. So Glen Talkers is where I believe a lot of the Shivers guys, distillers go to learn to work because it's a fully hands-on, fully manual distillery. So where Glen Garioch is kind of automated. Mm-hmm. Glen Talkers is where they go to. Same as kind of Lochnagar is for Diageo to do that very manual training. So if something goes wrong on the engineering side of it or the technical side of it, they know how to pick it up.
It's a big site. It's quite a big place.
Glen Talkers, yeah. Yeah, it's bigger than you think from the roadside. So did you actually stop off and go in? Or
No, I was going to get my hair done and I was too early. So like, what do you do to fill in time? You just drive by distilleries and take photographs of still houses. So so I went to go and find a Thrusk because I knew it was that direction. I thought, I don't think I've actually stopped to look at that one because it's our shop exclusive, like the Money David one. So I thought, I think it's up here. So I went for a drive and I thought it was that one I'd come to, but it wasn't. It was the next one past that one. So so I saw
you just made going to get your hair done sound infinitely more exciting than any other person has.
So I have hairdresser phobia. So I was literally doing anything to avoid going to get my hair cut. So I just drove by distilleries and I was like, right, okay, I really better go.
So most and any women, females watching, I'm sorry I've offended you. Most females who go for a 3-hour haircut, they sit in a hairdresser's chair for 3 hours. You're actually in and out of the hairdresser in about 20 minutes, and the rest of the time is spent driving around the country.
Pretty much. That's the only thing that got me into that hairdresser's was the chance of driving past a couple of distilleries. So, but because I've left it too long, I have to go back again. So now I have to go and get another haircut. So I'll need to go and find some. There's a consultation apparently as a new client. So this is what they do now. And then, yeah.
A consultation. So you have to go for a consultation and then go back to get your hair done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yes, it is. I didn't know it was so much work involved.
This is why this is actually maybe not a bad thing.
I mean, I'm gonna have spares soon, so like we could, I could hook you up with some hair. Just stick it on.
Yeah, I was thinking of nicking maybe like one hair from Killian every week or so and building up because he's gonna have loads coming through. He's born with
your color. Hair. It's your color as well, so you could like totally steal it.
Dominic said the hair on his head is not a problem after as well. Charlene McConaughey, love how informative these Blethers are. You're more than welcome. I don't think we could get any more informative. I said informal. Okay, informative. Good. Yeah. Can't be done with these hours in a hairdresser either. No.
I am with you, Charlene. Exactly. A waste of time.
I can't remember the last time I spent an hour in a hairdresser. Anyway, let's go back to whiskey. Guys, if you have any questions for Kat, primarily she is the focus of tonight's chat, and on that, I think we'll put the floor to you, Kat. Who are you, and what are you doing here?
That's a big question. Okay, so yeah, I am Kat, also known as the Distillery Cat. Also known as something else, going by what Mike originally called me, which I misheard.
We'll come back to
it. So I'm originally from Aberdeenshire. Moved back here about 5 years ago. For the last 10 years, I have travelled all around Scotland, living and working in very remote places on farms and shooting estates. So I've done a lot of farming over the years. Lots of lambing, sheep, cattle. I have lived everywhere. I have lived at the very top of Scotland between Tongue and Durness. I have lived in the middle of Scotland in Glen Garioch in Perthshire. I have lived on the west coast on a very small island called the Isle of Ling, and I've lived in Dumfries and Galloway down at the bottom of Scotland, and then back up here to the northeast. So always loved whiskey, but never really got into it until we moved back to the northeast. Fell in love with whiskey because my grandpa always had a bottle of Glenmorangie in his house. And I remember there used to be an advert on the TV. You might remember this, Mike. And it was a man, he sits down in a chair. I think it's like in a city. And then it's transported to this loch, and it's this beautiful leather armchair. And he just sits down with his dram, and it's like the Glen of Tranquility. And I remember being so impressed with like that concept. I wanted to live exactly where he was. So yeah, I always loved whiskey. I used to go to visit distilleries when I was a kid. But didn't make my way back into distilleries until we moved back to the northeast, and I got a job working at Glen Garioch Distillery in Old Meldrum, where I met your lovely wife, who was also a tour guide there. And then a year and a half ago, maybe, I started working for you at the whiskey shop. It's definitely not 2 years. It must be about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I think it was pre-Christmas, wasn't it? It was in October kind of time you came in to help out.
It was.
And now here you are, host, co-anchor of...
co-anchor. We're like those American, you should be like Chad, and I'll be like, I can't think of a good American name for a woman.
I was thinking of Will Ferrell and which is the lassie. It's probably
not like
that. Yeah. Scotch.
So yeah, that is my story. But yeah, enjoying being in the whiskey world. So being in the whiskey world for just over 5 years now. It's one of those jobs where sometimes you forget you're working because it's a lot of fun, but you're always learning something new. And I never get bored of that, whether it's at the shop with you, Mike, or at Glen Garioch, in terms of what we're doing there. Every day's a school day, so it's a lot of fun. And you meet some really nice people. And like half the people in the chat I'm recognizing from either doing your academy or customers so it's great. It's like the whiskey world's a family. It's a fun family to be part of.
Yeah, it is, and it's a small world, isn't it? It's
It
although
is.
it's massive in terms of worldwide appeal, the people in it tend to stick around. You very rarely see people coming in and out. They tend to. It gets under your skin, doesn't it? And
It does.
your
It
next
really.
job is going to be, certainly if it's not whiskey related, it'll be spirit related or
Yeah,
alcohol related. You might go into gin or rum or something, but you get a bug for it.
you do.
Uh, we have our first question from Dominic. What is your preferred style of whiskey?
God. Do you know, like, because I'm quite new to the whiskey world, I'm in a lucky position where I'm trying new whiskies all the time, and I can never really pick a favorite because every time I try one, generally, it becomes my favorite. But I think I was probably introduced to whiskey with the Highland style. So I quite like a whiskey. It's got a bit of weight and character behind it. And as anybody who's probably heard me on here knows, I am a ex-bourbon cask fan. I've been pushing the bourbon barrel way before it became popular. So I love the honesty of a nice hearty Highland single malt matured in an ex-bourbon cask. I like to feel the house character of the whiskey coming through. So that's probably my preferred style.
Awesome. There we go. There we go. So Ian is feeling lucky. Just managed to drop into the barbers and get seen within 5 minutes.
Oh, there you go. I mean, I think it's a bit easier for boys not to like genderize the whole hair cutting like chat, but I think it is a bit easier for boys to get a quick haircut. To be honest,
Most
I
of
bet
the
you
time.
didn't get a consultation. I bet.
No. The quickest consultation is do you want a 3 or a 4? And then that's it. And then it's
Yeah.
a razor all over. I am extended. Sometimes I go in for a Turkish barber shave, a hot towel shave or something like that, just to elongate the process and make it a bit more relaxing. But that's about it. That's on pay weekend when I'm feeling a bit flush. Treat myself to a shave from somebody else.
At least we don't have that fuss, I guess, girls. We don't have to like. Well, no, actually, we do. We have to shave everything except our face. To be honest, I don't even know what I'm talking about there. Like that's a lot of fuss.
But you probably get away with nut for a while, depending on your social life and your where your work uniform is. Maybe you get away with it.
I know people think I wear black trousers, but it's not.
Oh dear. Have you had a wee taste of what did you pour first? The Macduff for the Craigellachie?
What did I do? Hang on, sorry, I've forgotten. What did I go for? Craigellachie.
Yeah.
There was one that I tried that I absolutely loved. So it must have been. I think it was the Ben Rinnes. I think that was that the bourbon one? Maybe.
Yeah, that was the favorite on the night.
I think that's the one I loved as well, actually.
Yeah, we sold out of the Ben Nevis on the night, so I would imagine that's probably the one that stood out for you.
Oh, but that's all about it. Cool. That's good. It's good. I haven't had supper yet, so I'm like, ooh, whiskey.
That's you'll learn as we go through the Blether process that a hearty tea is vital as we go on. I mean, tonight we're a bit flexible on what we do time wise, I think, but when we've got the guests in, we want to get the use of them, and we'll get them on for quite some time. So you need stock up on food, not liquid, because we don't want. I mean, you're younger than Russell, so you've probably got a stronger bladder. You won't have to nip off after the 2-hour mark.
I know, you can always tell when you get to like the 2-hour mark. It's like, oh, Russell's away.
I heard from him today. Actually, he's loving it. Saying he's been overwhelmed with new information, which is good. So he's learning something.
I bet they've got some really interesting stock there. He's going to be in his element with all those old rare whiskies. It'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there might be whiskey as old as him now.
I don't know if that exists. Surely there'd be nothing left in the cask by the end of that. Love you, Russell, if you're watching.
He better be watching. He better be. Say hello if you are. He's maybe incognito. He's taking critiques. I wouldn't have said that. Oh, you should have done that.
Yeah, he might be. He might like have a pseudonym and be like, asking really hard-hitting questions.
Talking of hard-hitting questions, Phil Dixon on Facebook. What is the strangest dram you've tried?
God, I haven't got a wide range of whiskey that I've tried, to be honest. Working for one company for nearly 4 years, I got very used to a small selection of whiskies. So I don't know if I've tried a particularly strange one. The one that sticks out that was a bit peculiar was the tequila. No, not tequila. What was it? The Lost Loch, was it?
Oh, the absinthe.
Absinthe. Absinthe.
Yeah.
That was very, very different.
Very different. Yeah.
It
So
kind
the
of
guys,
confused your brain.
The Lost Loch Distillery bought a Tom and Towel whiskey cask from Tom Towel, obviously, and they put their absinthe into it and aged it for 18 months, I believe. And then when they decanted that, they filled it with a whiskey blend. So it was a whiskey. Technically, they didn't put Scotch whiskey, or they didn't say anything about Scotch whiskey. It was just whiskey in an absinthe cask because it wouldn't conform to the rules of SWA. But yeah, very, very. I'm not going to say, as Bob is asking, the worst dram you've tried. It was very, very out left field kind of thing.
It was, yeah, it was different. It made your brain hurt for a second of like, what is in my mouth? So, I tried a rye whiskey for the first time the other day. I went to Arbicki on a tour.
Oh, right, yeah.
And again, that confused my brain because it was very, very different. It was nice, but in a really, really different way. So again, that was a bit more unusual. But you've probably tried a lot more than I have, Mike. So not that. Oh my God, it's a baby!
And he's just thrown up. There we go.
Oh, hi,
Never
Tony.
work with kids and animals.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Look at you. Oh my gosh.
So
he's so ginger.
He is, right? That's why I think I can steal his hair.
Oh, bless him.
So here's Killian trying his first ever whiskey.
Wait, you're promoting to steal his hair and give him whiskey? Like, Tony, take the baby quick.
Why not? I don't think we should start him with the cast strength stuff, though. That's
no, you're gonna have to wean him in with something. Looks like he's just had supper, has he?
No, about an hour ago.
His butt changed.
He just had his butt changed.
Nice.
There we go. So if I'm reviewing this one later on and I have notes of
baby sick,
baby sick, and
it is on the flavor wheel, so like there's a chance.
You say no? You say no?
Hello, me man.
He's this is where I drop him live.
Definitely no, don't do that.
Here we go. There, yeah, there's a bit more dribbles. Right, we're going.
That's cute. I need to get your baby gift to you. It looks like he's going to be too big for it in about 5 minutes. I'm really going to have to get that gift to you.
He's got his own little hat as well.
Oh, do you know? Oh, I looked out my flat cap and I was going to have it on for tonight, and then I forgot. I should have had it. We could have been matching.
Bob said, "Don't steal any hair." Like I said, it's already been earmarked. So, whiskey is a great substitute for gripe water.
Oh yeah, so gripe water is for like when they've got like colic and stuff, isn't it?
Oh, for the baby, right? Okay.
Yeah. Not for you,
no. Haven't experienced that yet. So, we could go back to questions. Come on, there was a couple I wanted to come back to. One was okay. Dominic is asking a general question. Any thoughts on the guide price at auction for a 15-year-old Springbank?
That's a very specific random question.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to comment on auction prices at all. I think we'll just skip over that. Sorry, Dominic. I'm not going to tell people how much they should be spending on their whiskey in the secondary market, at least. Ian is asking on YouTube, when Glen Garioch got the upgrades last year, did Kat have to learn more about the floor maltings?
Yes, I did. So we always used to speak about it in general terms of what used to happen. But of course, they're now back. It's a really important part of the production process because, of course, the floor maltings and the direct firing still work in tandem to produce a really amazing spirit just now. So yeah, I did have to learn quite a bit more. So we produced a new script, which I wrote for the team. So I worked alongside the maltmen, which were fantastic. So we've got 4 maltmen, and I also worked with Quinelli, the distillery manager, Dr. Maduli, or Kanye, as he likes to be known. So yes, it was a learning curve, but really, really interesting. And the first time I saw malt on the floor, I literally did a barley angel. I was that excited by it. Doesn't work that well.
But I can imagine it'd be like doing it in the beach with the sand. It just get in places you don't want it to go.
I know. Well, when I went back to BC, they're like, "Why have you got so much barley in your hair?" I'm like, "I don't know. Why do you?" But it's fantastic. Like I still get every time I go in, I see malt on the floor. I still get so excited by it. It's such a rare thing to have.
Yeah, and there's just that kind of old school vibe about it, isn't it? It just makes you appreciate it a little bit more. You see the effort that these guys go in. I know that it's not quite as labor intensive as it used to be, but it's still pretty hard going for these guys.
Yeah, do you know, it is. Like I've tried the equipment they use, and even though they do have like a sort of automated machine that they can work through it, they still have to physically, apply their own sort of physicality to it. And then the grubber as well is really, really tough going. That's like 11.5 tons. So you're like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches of like really wet, heavy barley on the floor. So it's not easy at all. Not easy at all. And just the smell when you go in, it's fantastic. And just to see that beautiful building in use, like its proper use. It's absolutely amazing. I've become slightly obsessed by barley and germinating and different strains of barley and yeast. I've become a complete geek. So I'm grateful at the blooming dinner parties. I read Monkey Shoulder there, and I was like, I'm grateful monkey, but I'm not. I'm a really grateful monkey.
I am grateful monkey. I'm going to go back and screenshot that subtitles.
I'm going to miss that. I love watching you, Russell, and giggling away at all the automated subtitles. Like some of them are absolutely nonsense.
Yeah, great fun monkey. There we go.
I am a grateful monkey, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
But yeah, Dominic, that's exactly what it was. He was told that Monkey Shoulder came from turning the malt by hand, and it was that repetitive. You think these guys are doing 3 hours at a time, maybe, and the strain here.
It was. We had a visitor today, so it was Digger's cousin. So Digger Kenny, he's worked at distillery for about 36 years. So he used to work the malting floors when he was a young lad, and they would work 2 sides, 2 floors. You're having like 4 floors they were turning, and they'd have about 8 tons on each floor. And it wasn't just that; they were doing everything physically. So they were taking all the malt to the very top floor. They were pushing it down onto the next floor. They were doing everything by hand. So it was, it is where Monkey Shoulder came from. But the physicality of that role was intense. So yeah, hats off to all the guys that used to do it, and even to this day, like all the guys are doing it, and girls that are doing it. It's guys we have at Glen Garioch, but I know there's women that do it as well.
Do you have any female production staff at Glen Garioch?
No, we don't. Not at our site. I know that our other sites there are female production staff, but no, we currently don't have any female production staff. I would love to give it a go, but I don't think I'm clever enough for that.
I'll go get some of the guys in production. I'm pretty sure you'll be all right.
But yeah, I mean, there's loads of female distillers and in production as well.
They tend to be more in the kind of lab side of things, don't they? The blending, the nosing, that kind of side of.
Yeah, I think it's like generally accepted that a lot of women do have a not better, but maybe a more in tune nose and palate than men. I don't know. I think you've said yourself it's maybe an evolutionary thing back to like sort of.
I think that's kind of where it could be traced, because it would be the females tasting the berries for food and what they can and can't eat, and they have this almost sixth sense about it, which is developed from that and just kind of stayed. And I always say, and I'm always wary of saying this, but it goes, it's just traditional that it was the women, the females in the kitchen, in the garden, and then the daughter as we grow up helping mum with that kind of thing, just more exposed to that kind of smells, baking and cooking and planting flowers and stuff, whereas the boys were generally eating earthworms and throwing mud at each other, and that was
throwing sticks at stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's completely changed now, and we can't be tied by that anymore, and it'll be interesting to see how it develops. So I was listening, and I can't remember who it was who said it, but it's going to be really exciting moving forward. Now we've kind of broken down that barrier of that kind of persona of it being a man's industry. And if we're generally accepted, and this is not a new thing, it's been ages old, that women have a better nose and women have this more attuned sense of smell, it can only be good for the industry. It could only mean that we're going to start seeing better whiskies coming out, or more balanced whiskies coming out.
Definitely. I wonder if, let's say, from my own perspective, even though I've not been in whiskey for very long, I've always found that the people in the industry are always very welcoming of women. There's never really a sort of preconception about what your role would be. Like, you wouldn't just see a woman and assume she must just be a tour guide. Inside the industry, it's the people on the outside that tend to have a preconceived idea about a woman's role in the industry. So, for example, we have a predominantly female team and management team in the visitor centre, and we did have one male member of staff. And a lot of the time people would come in and just automatically assume that the man was the guy in charge, or they'd ask questions. A lot of it was like sort of, what's the word, like mansplaining, like trying to overwhelm you with their knowledge. And when you actually boil down to what their knowledge is, you're like, yeah, okay, so you're actually wrong. I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong. But it's this idea of like challenging that of, well, actually, but like, I think you'll find I've drink a lot of whiskey, so, I probably know. So I think, a lot of maybe the preconceived ideas about women in whiskey are from the outside. But like you say, I think that is definitely changing as well as people become more visual, in the industry, as women become more visual. I think it's definitely a big change. There's definitely a big change.
I never really thought of that, actually, in the sense that we now have a lot of virtual events, social media and things like this. Whereas if you wanted to go to a whiskey tasting, unless you were physically there and it was a female host, you would just assume, if you didn't go, you just assume it was guys doing it. Because now you can jump onto Facebook, see me talking to you, talking to Juliet, talking to Rachel, Barry, all these kind of top-end females in the industry. And you're like, oh, why are they talking about whiskey? Let's listen. And then they get that fact. You don't have to go to a tasting now. So hopefully that actually works really well in that sense as well. So, I never thought of it in that sense. Good point. Talking of, you mentioned there that just in the, in the shop itself, I'm the only guy now.
You are outnumbered.
So Killian's got 931 weeks until he's allowed to get a job in the shop. So we might have to just get me some support, guys. Come in and back me up every now and then. I was going to go back to a question from Rick, and he is asking, this goes back to your original nickname that you've got. How many distilleries do you tour for, or have you toured for?
So even though I do seem to be at every single distillery you guys turn up to, I only ever have toured for 2 distilleries. So Glen Garioch predominantly. And then whenever we have Ardmore tours, I will generally host those as well. And that is because I absolutely adore Ardmore. I think it's one of the prettiest secret distilleries out there. And also because I grew up not far from Ardmore, so it's kind of my home turf. My brother lives just on, well, he lives at Ardlair House. So Ardlair, of course, is the other product that they make. So Ardlair, where you tried to go to and got completely lost.
We followed your directions and got completely lost.
You know what? We're going to agree to disagree. So yeah, currently only 2 distilleries. I have worked out in Islay a little bit as well, so I went out to our sister site as well. That is how I developed my nickname, misheard nickname.
So we were at. So you've got within your umbrella Beams of Doyle, you've got Glen Garioch, Auchentoshan, Ardmore, Lefroy, and Bowmore, isn't it? It's a 5.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Irish one is
Kilbeggan.
Kilbeggan.
Kilbeggan, so yeah, I haven't toured for them, but I've been out and seen them and worked there for not Kilbeggan, but Auchie and Bowmore and Lefroy. I actually went with Tony, your wife. So,
yes. Almost got stuck over there, wasn't it? It was just at the start of the lockdown.
Well, it's because I insisted on going to Kilchoman. So I managed to bag a place to go and see Kilchoman before it was open, just because the island I lived on, the family knew the Wills family. So we're like, well, we're going to do Kilchoman. And then I spoke to a friend of mine who used to live on Islay. And I messaged, he said, oh, I thought you were going to Kilchoman. And I was like, oh, yeah, we are. We're just heading there now. He's like, what time's your ferry? You getting such and such ferry? I was like, yeah, that's when we're getting. He's like, yeah, you're not going to make that. You're going to have to go now. So we mentioned it to Robin at the distillery. He's like, yeah, what? So when you guys leaving? And we're like, oh, yeah, we're getting the such and such ferry. He's like, yeah, you need to go now. Like, you're not going to make that ferry at all. So like Tony was like bounced. But everybody waves. So you can still go past at 80 miles an hour and still wave at people like, oh, I love the ferry. So yeah, we very nearly got stuck in Islay, but how tragic would that be?
I could think of worse places to be stuck, to be fair.
I know, exactly. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So we managed to take off every distillery, but there was 2 shut. I think Kalila was closed, and I think Bunnahabhain was closed. I think
Bunnahabhain was getting a lot of work. I think they're both getting a lot of work done at the time, because I was in it over in October before on the Islay Academy, and they were both shut then as well. So
yeah, we missed those ones. So Tony, we'll need to head back over, get Killian in the bus, and we'll head back over.
Killian. It sounds like almost like a Kilbeggan or a Kilchoman as well, doesn't it? Killian.
It does.
Name a whiskey.
Do an independent bottling and just name it Killian. Killian's dram.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I would, go for that.
There we go. I'm not sure if it's promoting underage drinking or what. Yeah, have a photo of a baby on the bottle. Maybe.
Well, it worked. It worked for teachers for a while, didn't it?
The 2 boys what were they playing? Kirby or something?
They were playing cricket, with the empty whiskey bottles.
That's right.
Yeah. So I can't even remember what the question was. Yeah, Ardmore and Glen Garioch. That's the stories I tour for.
Yeah. There we go. So we were at Ardmore when the first academy, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I made a comment because Kat had been already done the Glen Garioch distillery tour, and they were at Ardmore, and out pops Kat ready to do again. And
me again, guys.
I made the joke that here comes the distillery tart. And Kat, it was, that's a great nickname. I'm totally using that as my Twitter handle and the Instagram handle. And I was just thinking, I don't think she heard me right. But everyone kind of ever heard me apart from you, and they were like, yeah, you should go with it. Yeah, that would be great.
I know, right? You guys were so supportive. And then, of course, I changed my name to the Distillery Cat on Instagram. And like Russell's like, yeah, great name, Cat, but it was the tart we called you. Like, I was like, oh, I am not changing my name to that though, because like messages on Instagram are weird enough without changing into that. So no, we'll just stick with the Distillery Cat.
I think it works as well. I can't believe it wasn't taken, to be honest.
I know, right? I was like, I searched for it. So there are Linder's cats have got their own Instagram page, and it is something similar. I think they're called Vespers and Dr. John Call or something. No, what was the friar called? Doctor? No, it wasn't called Doctor. Friar John. Yeah, I think the cats are called Friar John and Vespers, I think, and they've got an Instagram similar, but they've got more actual cat pictures. Mine's mainly selfies.
Yeah. Oh, well, of an actual cat.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Dave on YouTube, and this is one that I had lined up to ask you as well. How far do you want to go in the industry?
That's a good question. I definitely want to stay in industry because, like I say, it's one of those industries that is always changing. You are always learning new things. I would love to get into writing. I would like to, whether that is maybe the archive side of things with distilleries. I love the fact that every distillery is just this beautiful piece of social history, and that every generation that takes on these distilleries is preserving a really important part of our social history. So I'm a bit of a history geek, a little bit like you, Mike. So I love the sort of the history side of things. So whether that's maybe progressing into archivy, whether it is there maybe, or just writing in terms of whiskey journalism, or there's just so many avenues that I'm really interested in whiskey. I mean, I love my Glen Garioch brand. I love what's happening there as well. So I'm really interested in seeing how that evolves and just learning about new products and things, just all of it. So anything that I can do, I am willing to give a go and try in the whiskey world. So yeah, hoping to stick around for as long as they have me.
Sounds good. Great
Yeah.
stuff. Thank you, Dave, for that question. So that was one of my questions. I was going to, what was your goals, what your ambitions? Do you have what other ambitions you have out with the whiskey? What you want to achieve? More kids?
No. Why would you even say that? I love you kids if you're watching. I do love you. I just don't need any more children. Yeah, no, I have.
This goes back to the conversation in the shop on Monday. I just pull that up again.
Yeah, no, 3 kids, all nearly into their teenage years. So yeah, so ambitions, yeah, in terms of the kids, see them go off and do wonderful things, maybe travel, get jobs that they want. Life ambitions, that's big. I mean, a lot of it is just do my career. Like, I've been a mum for like over 10 years, so it's all just maybe like rediscovering what I enjoy and just progressing what I want to do in life. I love climbing. I want to climb more Monroes. I love hill climbing. I'm a bit obsessed by gardening and history, so anything to do with that. I run. I'd love to get a bit fitter, improve my 5K time, and finally get a haircut once I get through my consultation period with the hairdresser. That would also be a good ambition.
Right. It sounds like they're almost going to set you up for an exam, and you need an exam to get your haircut. So sit down for a consultation.
I don't know what I did so wrong. But like, I'm going to look damn fine by the time we get to the end of this consultation process.
I'm just going back, and we're talking about geeking out on barley. Ian has popped up the latest episode of One Nation Under Whiskey podcast. Had David Thompson of the Spirit of Yorkshire, Philly Bay whiskey, and he got really geeky about barley growing and sustainable farming.
So, don't even get me started on that. Like the whole regenerative farming and sustainable farming, I'm all over that. That's fantastic. I've been saying that should be happening for years. So yeah, I am going to be looking that one up. That's fantastic.
That is One Nation Under Whiskey. Have you listened to them before? They're pretty good.
No, I don't think so. I'm gonna literally put it in my phone just now. So excuse my face going blue as I look down at my phone.
It's great to see a lot of the Academy guys on tonight. So hello to Rick, to Mary, to Willis. It's great to have you all back on, and continue to follow us as well. It's always good to see you guys and catch up. So we have Willis who's coming back for his second Academy trip in September. So we're going to have to mix it up. We're going to have to do something a bit different. Next September. So he's asking if you could work in the distillery in another country. Where would you go?
Oh, that's so easy. Cardrona. Like, sign me up. Like, get me a ticket. My father is a Kiwi, so I would absolutely love to. I've never been to New Zealand, so I would love to go and see it properly. I just realized how dark my living room is getting. I'm going to go and put the big light on. Like, that's a proper Aberdeenshire turn. But I'm going to go put
the big light on. Yeah.
In a second. But yeah, I would absolutely love to go and see Cardrona. They make some great whiskey, and the distillery looks amazing. So, what about you, Mike? That's quite a good question for you. Where would you love to go?
I think I would probably be the same, either that or Bifrost, which is the northernmost distillery in the world, right at the top of Norway. I think that would be a stunning place. Not as warm as New Zealand, but I think they do some really funky stuff and really cool stuff. So, that's that would be interesting. Waterford or Ireland in general. I love the country, so if I got the chance to go and work over there in whiskey, would be pretty cool.
Yeah, Ireland's beautiful.
Yeah, Bob's just popped up. Waterford Distillery are really geeky about barley farming. I think they're really geeky about everything whiskey, aren't they?
I know. I think there's a turn in that, though. I think you're seeing more distilleries that are actually looking at the barley. I think the earlier ones maybe got ridiculed a little bit, but I think there's more of the newer distilleries that are actually looking at heritage grains. And I think, why wouldn't you? You know, a lot of the barley has been specially cultivated for yield, but, you know, with lower nitrogen content, but a lot of nitrogen content actually contribute to flavor congeners that are created later on in the process. So yeah, it's not always about yield.
No. And as we see more and more independent distilleries coming on and they want that unique flavor profile, it's not because obviously we had most of the distilleries up until the last kind of 10, 15 years was all kind of corporate or blending distilleries. So the individual flavors were probably not as important as they are now as single malt is risen. It's becoming more and more profound, and people are looking at that, and I think that's a big reason why we're seeing a lot more young releases, because people are taking more time pre-maturation and enjoying that kind of science side of it and the geeky side of it before the whiskey gets in the cask. They're making a great effort on the quality of the whiskey or the spirit before it becomes whiskey.
Definitely. I mean, there are 3 main ingredients for a reason. So you're not going to just pick the run-of-the-mill stuff and then do the big flavor creation at the end with the cask. You know, if you're doing cooking a decent recipe, you don't rely on the sauce at the end, is what I always say to people. So I think we are seeing a change to that a little bit now. So yeast become more important, barley's become more important. The new mixed spirits should be the one that does the talking, not the Oloroso cask at the end.
Yeah. And you can match a lot of flavors with a powerful cask, can't you? And I'm just going back to that when it was very, very sherry. I'm actually going to cleanse my palate with a wee Palo Cortado that I've got sitting here, which was pretty nice. The guys in the academy from last March might recognise that bottle. That was a 20-year-old. And,
is that Russell's favourite one? Is that the one Ian said that was Russell's? Okay.
This tastes less like a sherry than the Glen Talkers did.
Do you know, I was very surprised. I'm not anti-sherry, but I don't have a sweet tooth. So sherry maturation is not my favourite. But when Ian got us to try some different sherries at the training night, I was surprised just how nice they were. I just thought it was going to be like burnt sugar and, you know, Granny's fruitcake. But a lot of just actual sherries are very, very drinkable, very, very pleasant. So it was an eye-opener for me anyway.
Yeah, I think people don't realise how dry sherry is in general. There's 7 sherry styles, and 5 of them are dry. There's only the PX and then your cream sherry that are classed as sweet. But that's the ones that Granny took out and pours in the Trifort at Christmas. And that's what you're supposed to.
That's not going to happen.
It's very sweet, yeah. But that's what when people think of sherry, they think of that Christmas sherry that, and you kind of oversee the Finos, the Manzanillas, the Oloroso. Oloroso is kind of big in whiskey, but as a sherry on its own, it's still quite dry.
I also think that's part of the problem. So many people don't understand sherry. So when they talk about, I want a sherry maturation, they look for a very, very dark bottle. Because they don't actually understand what sherry is. They just like the sweetness that they get in a whiskey. So it's not necessarily sherry they're looking for. It's just a sweet flavor that they want. So they're kind of limiting themselves to a whole world of different experiences.
I am going to now grab something completely different. We've got a Tokai cask. This is the LBD's Tormore.
Oh, wow.
Did you get to try that?
No. I've got R1, the little brown dog, the whiskey shop.
I don't even have it.
I mean, like, I can share. As you can see, like, I've got a lot of undrunk whiskey.
What do you go for? I know you've mentioned kind of bourbon casks and Highland. When you go to a bar, is there a specific kind of whiskey you're looking for, or do you always want to try something different?
Well, it's funny because when Kenny was saying to the folk at the tasting, you know, find the one that you're familiar with and then look down and along. That's kind of what I do, because I always think, you know, if I'm going out and want to spend money on a dram, I'm not going to want something that I know what it tastes like. So I always try something different. What do I always have open? Glen I love Glen, so I've always got a Glen sitting open. Not the one that I allegedly stole from the distillery. But I think they do some really nice whiskey. And I love Anok. Like, I always have a bottle of Anok sitting. It's such an underrated whiskey. I've actually got I picked it up today because I went up to the little cost cutters and they had the peated one. I was like, yes, I'm having that. So it's just such a good price. So I've always got one of those sitting. And Bowmore, I love a Bowmore. Like, it's just a nice, easy drinker when you want something a bit peaty.
It was Bowmore that really got Tony into whiskies. We did a staff training night at the pub we've got. So Tony worked for us at the bar. We did a staff training night, and obviously trying to get the guys to talk more about whiskey and getting into whiskey. So we did the bourbon cast, we did the sherry cast, we did a cast strength, and we finished off in the Bowmore. And just seeing Tony's face light up when she nosed it, and I was like, I've got a hook here. This could work, because although she worked at Glen Garioch and then over at Glen Garioch, she wasn't really into the whiskey side of it. She loved the story, she liked the idea of it. She had a good nose on her for that side of things, but she wasn't really enjoying the whiskey until fully bourbon peaty whiskey.
That's why me and her will be best friends forever. Well, Kilchoman, obviously. I can't believe I didn't mention Kilchoman. Like, I'm a mad super fan of Kilchoman. That was the original question. What do you have always open? Kilchoman is what I always have open. But I don't have any of that, actually.
I think you've also answered Rick's question. Do you have a favourite peaty and smoky whiskey?
Kilchoman.
There we go.
Do you know what? It just reminds me I live on the West Coast. So
you were born on the West Coast, weren't you? You were born on the island.
No, I am a northeasty beastie. But a lot of folk think that I'm from the West because I've got a really weird mixed up accent. So it's something people assume all the time. But no, I spent a lot of time living on the West Coast on a very, very small island. And luckily for us, like I said, that the family we worked for were very good friends, the Wills family, but they didn't like peated whiskey. So whenever they came over with a Kilchoman Land Rover and a bottle, it used to end up quite often down at my house. So I don't know, it's one of those things, because your sense of smell is linked to memory. It just, I don't know, just makes me think of being West. And it's a bloody good whiskey. I love it. So Maccabi usually I have opens, or a Sanig, depends what I fancy. Yeah.
So where do you see his home? Because you've been around the country almost. Do you have somewhere that you think, when you think of home?
It's funny because, like, you would assume it should be the northeast, but it's taken a while to like settle back in. But probably only because I've been away for so long. But whenever I head back west, it kind of almost feels like maybe more so home.
Yeah, I think the West is like that a little bit as well. For somebody who's never lived in the West, you go there and you feel instantly comfortable. I think.
That's it. You do. So I think I probably always gravitate back to West, maybe eventually one day. I actually loved living in Perthshire. It was one of my favourite places that I lived. But yeah, I'd probably think of West maybe more as home. Although the Northeast is great. I love the Northeast.
Yeah, exactly. You have to say that. You're kind of contractually obliged to mention that.
It's underrated. Like, we've got more castles and distilleries and standing stones than anywhere else. You know, it's like such a fantastic part of the world. It's so underrated.
And I think we're going to see a lot of people seeing that. We're quite sheltered up here, I think, financially. I think we've been protected by the oil, by the kind of wealth of that. We've had our dips and things. But the adverse effect of that was that people didn't really travel to visit us because of the prices, the kind of artificially high prices of accommodation and transport and that kind of thing. Over the last few years, that's changed. We see a drop in that. Yeah. And a lot of visitors coming in have, they've already done kind of Glasgow, Edinburgh, they've done Inverness, they've done Speyside. So hopefully, and I think the forecasts are that we're going to see a wee boom over the next couple of years of visitors come to the Northeast. We've got, like you said, the castles and the Pictish history.
It's mad.
And there's a distillery or two as well, which is awesome.
I know there's so many of them. Like, it's ridiculous. We were never advertised as the holiday place to go in Scotland, were we? Like as kids,
We didn't need to be. So
yeah, people didn't really come to the northeast. So you went to Cullen maybe, or you went to Portsoy, and that was kind of it holiday wise in Aberdeenshire. But now I think maybe, I don't know if COVID changed that with staycations and people getting into whiskey a bit more. So yeah, definitely a big difference. People visiting, which is all good. It is all good.
Absolutely, and it can only, if more people come in, they want more distilleries to visit, so people might start popping up. Because I know the Lowlands are doing a massive renaissance at the moment of distilleries. So we could be the next, if it continues. Let's hope it does. This little whiskey renaissance. But you've got a few claims to fame as well, don't you, from your time over on the island? Tell us one or two of these famous people that you roll off the tongue when you're talking to me in the shop.
Well, okay, so I've met a couple of famous people. Okay, so Florence and the Machine, they shot their video for, was it Queen of Peace maybe, on my ex-boss's barge. So she was on this boat, just kind of like doing her thing, flailing her arms around in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on the barge that we used to take sheep and wheelie bins on most of their days of the year. So I remember my boss, she phoned, and at the time her daughter's friend made these beautiful hand crocheted hats. So my boss's wife thought it'd be a great idea to promote these hats by getting Florence to wear one. So she phoned me and said, "Kat, could you give me your hat for Florence and her machines?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Florence and her machines.
At this stage, nobody had told me that Florence Machine was coming. I was like, "You're going to have to back up a couple of spaces. I'm not sure what you're talking about." But no, she wouldn't promote it. Despite looking really, really cold, bless her, she wouldn't promote the hat. I have also met... So
did she wear it at least, even off camera?
No, I don't think she did actually. I think somebody in the band or somebody in her production team put it on. But no, Florence didn't wear the hat.
No. Bob said we should get her to write a theme tune for the Blether.
Oh my God, yes, we should. Like, I think me and Florence have lost touch. I think it may be, like somewhere along the line, we're not in touch anymore. If you're watching, Florence, though, like, just get back in touch.
Call me.
But that would be amazing, wouldn't it? That'd be so ethereal. Like, ooh, Blether.
I just imagine her on this barge with the wheelie bins and the sheep around her. I know. This authentic video. That'd be cool.
So if you look at the music video, I think it was Queen of Peace, and she is kind of wafting around Easdale. So Easdale was the next island over from us, but a lot of this sea imagery was just on this barge that the boss used to use. I've also met, for all the people who have children, I have met Edie McCready from Balamory. She was at my wedding.
I was going to say, you didn't just meet her. She was a guest at your wedding.
She was a guest at my wedding.
You didn't bump into her in the street.
No. So my friend's husband had been watching Balamory that morning because, when you're in the West Coast, that's what you do. You watch Balamory. And then he'd come to the wedding and seen Juliet, who is Edie McCready, and he was like, "Oh my God, you are like a Kardashian with all these celebrities at your wedding." I'm like, "I'm just like a Kardashian." So yeah, I know Juliet. I used to housekeep for her. I used to clean her house for her. And I've also met Gregor Fisher, who is Ramsay Nesbitt, who used to come out to the West Coast a bit. So Lynn, yes, it Ian met Edie McCready. You're on, like it was. I am talking about Ian, who got very excited about Edie McCready. So yeah, I'm Gregor Fisher. He is very good friends with the laird who we used to work for. So we went on a island hopping trip around the West Coast with him also. So yeah, a couple of interesting people. And I've met Prince Charles also.
Oh, everyone's met him.
But so have you. I didn't feature it in the Queen's speech. You did. So you've totally trumped me at that one.
Yeah. I didn't get to give him 40-year-old whiskey though. I gave him a nice sweet 10-year-old octave.
That's true. Yeah.
No, I was rather underwhelmed when when I handed him over. He's, oh yes, we've just come from Glen Garioch and I got this 1970. Well, I'll just take that whiskey back then if you're going to be.
He did offer to share his whiskey with me though. Yeah, but yeah, I didn't share his whiskey. Nice guy.
Rick, hey, I've met Mike, Cat, and Russell. Absolutely,
you're winning, Rick. You are winning,
absolutely. Yeah. Ian Bruce has asked who is the author songwriter that's been on the Blether. I'm guessing Robin Lang would be.
Oh yeah, that'll be it.
I don't think we've had anyone else unless we've had any secret singer. We've had a few authors. We've had Nick Morgan, Brian Townsend. We've had a few authors, but Robin's the only singer, author, songwriter we've had. I need to get back in touch with him and get him over to do a tasting for us again, actually.
And a theme tune.
And a theme? Oh, well, yeah, that could be a theme tune, couldn't it?
Yeah, we'll get him to collab with Florence.
Oh, how cool would that be?
I think the world needs that, to be honest.
Robin and the Machine.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Talking of celebrity spots and guys getting all teenage kicks over them, we did a tour and we went to Strathyla, and one of their tour guides, little old guy, was on British Bake Off. I can't remember his name.
That's cool.
But the guys who were on the tour were kind of mid to early 30s, got really excited by this, and they're like, "Oh, you're Ernie, something like that." I think I might be wrong, guys. If you're at home and you know who the little old Scottish guy who was on Bake Off that works at Strathyla Distillery is, pop his name in the chat. But yeah, they got really excited, and then they kind of one by one realized just how excited they witnessed themselves to be. So taking selfies and everything, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's because the wife who watches Bake Off and going to be really jealous that we've met this guy." You're like, no. You have just exposed yourselves as massive Bake Off fans. But yeah. So, guys, we have been on. I know we normally stretch out the Blethers for quite some time, longer than the hour. But we just wanted to get to know Kat. If you've got any more questions, please fire them through. I think I've got another dram in me yet before I have to go and take the dogs out. I know Kat has another one. I've only seen her pouring.
No, sorry.
Yeah. So if you have any more questions for either of us about what's coming up at Inverurie Whisky Shop, we would be delighted to hear from you. While you're typing, we have in 2 weeks' time, which is the 20th. Yeah. We've got an incredible guests lineup with Johnny and Angus from the new Clive Distillery, which has just been announced. Johnny McMillan and Angus McQuaid, who from the Whiskey Sponge and Berry Brothers. There was a new announcement just at the beginning of the week saying that they're teaming up with a third chap called Aaron, who and these guys are going to be together to make a new distillery in Perthshire. So we are very, very excited to get these guys on. So they're going to be on the 20th. The 27th, as I said, we have got Kristiane Sherry, former spirits business and master malt editor, and now doing a lot of blogs and a lot of writing, freelance writing and stuff. So she's going to be back on. And then on the 5th of April, no, the 4th of April, is it the 4th of April? Yeah, we've got Alison Milne from Crafty Maltsters. So we will be getting our malt geek well and truly on.
Yeah.
So Crafty Maltsters supply small batch malt cereals to brewers generally, but also to whiskey industry as well. So that's going to be really fun. to do that. Dominic on YouTube, I'm sorry we don't have any more tickets for Arden American yet. I did tell you we'll give you a shout if anyone pulled out. I know the corridor's quite comfy. I've sat there before.
You sit on the stairs.
Unfortunately, we don't have any more whiskey to give you. So,
do we have anything left for Kilhoman night? Is he coming to the Kilhoman night?
I think he is. But yes, I think we've only got a couple of online now. I think in-house is full. We do have Rock Rose coming next week. No, the 21st. 2 weeks' time, we've got the Dunnet Bay Distillers coming to show off their gin. It's more of a gin tasting, but we have got a couple of new spirits that they're releasing. And we've got a couple of tastings, the tickets for that. And then we've got Mossburn on the 5th. I just got their new samples of their new releases through. And they have got some really, really exciting stuff. Mossburn are the guys who, Torvig. These guys, owned by Mossburn Distillers. So we'll be trying the Oak Glen. And it's one that I always miss out. See, and I told this to Stuart on our Blether, who's going to be hosting the tasting. Whenever we talk about new distillers, I automatically think about Lindors, Lockleigh, Arden Markin. Torvig I always forget about, and it's not because it's not good, it's because it feels like it's been around forever, and I always forget it's a new distillery. It's such a good mature spirit. Definitely want to get your gums around and enjoy. Phil Dix is asking, are we still doing virtual tastings alongside the in-person? We are. So all our tastings at the moment are kind of hybrid, what we call hybrid, so that you can join in virtually, but it's hosted in the tasting room. So we link up to a headset and we talk to you guys while we're talking to the guys in the room as well. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And so yeah, this is all still on the go. We are looking at doing another virtual only event pretty soon with some Glenallachys. We're just getting a date finalized for that. So look out for that. And Dave is asking about a Blether about the Highland Whisky Academy.
I think you did that with Russell, did you not, last year? Maybe.
With Russell, I can't remember if it was the end of last year or the start of this year. Was it our first one this year? I think we talked about it.
I think you did a sort of sum up of everything, didn't you? Of everything that happened, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it was after the last one. But yeah, I'm happy to talk. We've got a lot of guys who were on the Academy watching today. So, guys, if you want to put your views of the Academy out for the world of social media, please pop it in there. I mentioned before that we want to do things differently every week, every one of the weeks. We run it twice a year, in March and in September. But the core ones are going to be the same. We want to focus on Aberdeenshire. We want to make sure the Northeast is seen as the home of it. So Glen Garioch, Ardmore, Knockdhu, Glen Glassa, Glendronach. We got into Macduff, but this March that was closed for renovation. So potentially getting to Macduff again in September. And we've got a host of things, and we are talking about doing a bit more of the production side, so a bit more geekiness with peat and barley. So we have got some contacts to get involved with that. So absolutely. Dominic, no, we take a deposit to reserve the place, and then the rest of the fee is due 1 month in advance. So yeah, give us a shout if you're interested in it. It's 1 week long.
You will love it, Dominic. You can, there's so many note-taking opportunities. I know you're a fan of taking notes. So, it's so cool. The Maltings seems like a fantastic place to go and visit. It always looks really, really cool when you guys go there. You'll get a full broad spectrum of the whole whiskey industry, from front of house, like visitor centres, to spirits, to what goes into it. It's a fantastic, all-encompassing kind of opportunity.
Yeah, Rick's on the end of Facebook saying he travelled from San Francisco to attend, and the experience was well worth every penny he spent.
And it was all the better for having you, Rick, also.
Absolutely. And we checked out your latest video as well.
Yeah, I watched that.
which was pretty cool. So yeah, guys, jump on Rick's. It's not a podcast. It's similar to what we're doing tonight. It's
like a Facebook blog thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So jump on, Rick. Pop your a link onto the chat if you want, and the guys can jump on and see what you're all about as well. And we are finding a little bit more kind of, don't want to say influencer bloggers and writers are interested in the academy because they want to come out and experience it. Dave, no question's a silly question, but I'm not sure. Do you mean in general, or do you mean for the academy when you're asking that?
Just like a sort of survival question of what is food and what do you do about it? Because I'm just basing my life on whiskey only.
Yeah, you can't cook raw rats. I don't know.
Raw. You could like toast over a candle first, Mike. Let's singe off the hair a wee bit.
So lunch is included every day, and we leave you with a fridge full of food for sorting your own breakfasts. It's a shared accommodation, so hopefully if you come along, somebody in the house can cook. But I tell you, one thing I can announce, we have Tamara Wagner coming over from Germany at the next academy, and she has written a book about cooking with whiskey. Wow. We are going to possibly tie in an episode or a lesson, even a morning or an evening, where we will be doing a lesson on cooking. So you can come along and learn how to cook, David. That would be your challenge. You can not only drink whiskey, but you can learn to cook with it as well.
It'd be like a sort of whiskey survival experience. Like you'll come out a better man because of it. You'd be like, I know the whiskey industry inside out, and I can make an omelette. Like, I'm living my best life. Plus, Tony makes a mean cake.
She does. She absolutely does. It's the highlight of the academy for me is Tony's cake. And
I think it's a really highlight. It's all people talk about. It's like, oh god, that cake, that cake.
Tamara Wagner's book is fantastic. That's coming from Rick. Ian Stone Circle, will it be ceasing at the 5? Yes. We stopped at 5. The reason I chose 5 was because every small business or the majority of small businesses, if they're going to fail, they fail within the first 5 years. So that's why I set myself the challenge of doing 5 single casks for Stone Circle. I thought if I can manage that,
optimism behind that message. That's beautiful.
If I can get the 5 out, then I've overcome that hurdle. So we're still here into our 8th year. So yeah, I have looked at doing something different to Stone Circle, but along the same veins. And I was speaking to somebody today about that. So watch this space. It might not be Stone Circle, but if you've got all 5 of them, you've got them all. So
I'm going to be a very sad person when my Glen Garioch Stone Circle is finally finished. That is fantastic. I absolutely love that. So I have a bottle and a half because we found some spare ones at the shop the other day. I was like, what? Yoink.
You got a bottle and a half.
I do. It's like it's my go-to. Like when I want to treat myself, I'm like I'm opening up the Glen Garioch Stone Circle. I love that. It's fantastic. Really, really good. Not just because I work for the company, but it's a really good example of Glen Garioch. It's really, really good.
You're maybe not allowed to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it.
Oh, anyway. Don't. If you're going to say you're maybe not allowed, then I'm not allowed.
Do you prefer distillery bottlings or independent bottlings of Glen Garioch?
Do you know, I don't think I can prefer one or the other. So I've got a little bit obsessed by collecting independent bottlings of Glen Garioch, and I really, really want the Money McDavid Toka one, which is on my list of stuff that I want to get.
It came into the shop today.
Are you for real?
Yeah, it arrived today.
Oh my god! Like, set me one aside. Like, I'm there on Saturday. I'm having it. So there's a couple of single casks that we have released that I absolutely love. The 1991 Ex Bourbon is one of my favorite Glen Gariochs, but at the same time, there's some fantastic independent bottles of Glen Garioch. So I don't think I can choose a favorite out of the two. So that's as far as we're going to answer that question.
Very diplomatic answer there, Kit. And I know sometimes you get it's almost like an insult to you when people. We've had a few guests saying, "Oh, Glen Garioch, but you should see the independent bottlers; they're great." And there is that.
I know. Do you know? It's one of those things. I think. So a lot of I don't know how to word it. A lot of whiskey experts, so the ones that write the blogs that follow maybe the bigger names, can be quite disparaging about Glen Garioch. But nearly every single person that you've spoken to in the industry on this chat have said it's probably one of their favorite distilleries, or the one they want to visit the most. So I think distilleries go through stages where they're like the favorites, like where they're the popular boy at school, and then there's the ones that are maybe not as popular to talk about. And that's fine, like whatever. I don't take offense about that either. But just try it, like don't base it off the blog that you read. And I would say that for any distillery that gets a hard time from bloggers. Okay, that's great. That's your opinion, but that's your opinion. Try it, visit the distillery, see what they're doing, and then make your opinion. But I never get upset when people say anything negative about Glen Garioch, because it's a consumable product. We can't like everything that we taste. That's impossible. So, if it's not your flavor profile, it's not your flavor profile. That's fine. And we were more than happy to point you in a direction of a distillery that's maybe more suited to you as well. It doesn't mean to say that you're not going to enjoy visiting, because, we're doing something very, very unique, very, very special that not many other distilleries are doing. So, yeah, I never take offense about that. But, I always like to hear why they've reached that opinion, whether it's just something they've read or whether it's just from personal experience and their flavor profile. So, yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of that kind of, I don't want to say snobbery, but popularity.
It is.
And people, you get trends of distilleries being popular, so everyone. Springbank being an example at the moment, it's going through a massive. It's always been popular, but it's never been desired, and it's going through this massive wave, more so in the secondary market than just now. So, and people are buying it and swooning over it, and probably a large portion of them haven't even ever tried a Springbank. They're just buying it for that.
Yeah. When I tried it for the first time the other day, I've never tried Springbank, even though it gives me a nervous twitch, because whenever we release it at the shop, people phone every 5 minutes. And I did try it for the first time the other day. A friend of mine brought it up from Edinburgh. He does the university Malt Whisky Society. He's like their sort of a consultant. Elliot, you know Elliot. So he brought it up the other day. I tried it. I kind of expected the clouds to part and God to point to me and say, "Yes, well done, you. Good choice." That didn't happen. I liked it. It was a lovely whiskey, like amazing. I'd love to visit the distillery because of what they're doing. The fact they're very traditional, the fact that only Springbank and Glen Garioch do the floor maltings and the direct firing, the fact they do this like distillation in 2.5 distillations, which I still can't quite get my head around. I'd love to see that and figure out what's going on. But at the same time, I'm not sure I would try that. Be like Willis, stop now. I don't ever want to try another whiskey. When he tried the Glenglasser, wasn't it? Which is probably one of my favorite whiskey quotes ever. So I wasn't like that with Springbank, but it was a beautiful whiskey. Like I enjoyed it. It was fantastic. I had it with friends, so it made it even better. But at the same time, I think it's maybe a trend. It's like the popular boy at school that everybody wants to kiss, if we're going to genderize whiskey, or the popular girl at school that everybody wants to kiss, or the popular non-gender specific person at school. I don't know what the right thing to say is. I've gone in a hole and I can't get back out.
Yeah. I mean, we're not allowed to genderize whiskey anymore, are we?
I mean, fair enough, because some of the comments were ridiculous, but it's just fads and trends, isn't it?
That's a whole different conversation. We're not going to open that kind of worms.
No,
I think I've ranted about it before on several Blethers, so I'm not going to do that tonight.
I know, it's fine. We'll save that for another night.
Absolutely. Ian's asking if you've tried the single cask Nation 9-year-old Glen Garioch.
I haven't. No.
There seems to be a lot of that kind of 8-9-year-old Glengarioch and independent bottlers. It seems to be a lot of
yeah, we get a lot of messages about that as well. Just people asking about that age in particular. So maybe it's just because there's a lot of indie releases of it. But maybe that's its sort of the sweet point. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But no, I haven't. But I will look out for that.
When did the distillery close, or when did it reopen?
So it shut in 95 under Morrison Bowmore, and then reopened in 1997 under Suntory.
So it's not like they had a plethora, so they sold some casks to fund the sale or something like that. Into the indie market.
I think, I don't know. I don't know a lot about the sort of how that works of like Glengarioch casks being sold, but it's the same with Ardmore. So Ardmore you can maybe not see as an independent release for ages, and then like last year there was a plethora of Ardmore casks that seemed to appear under indie bottlings. So I don't know enough about that to understand how that works and the process behind that, but it seems to go into kind of, I don't know, blocks of nothing and then a few of them all at once.
I'm just going to say thank you to Dave, who's just bought 2 of the Glengarious, Murray McDavid's.
Wait, how many's left? Stop, Dave. Wait, stop. How many's left?
You I don't know if Saturday's going to be too late for you, but
hang on, I've got a day off tomorrow.
We'll maybe put one aside for you. Don't worry about that. They're not usually limited, so we'll be all right.
I mean, like, I'm a very loyal member of staff. Like,
guys, probably going to call it a night now. Thank you very much for joining us coming along and joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it. We've learned a little bit more about Kat. We're going to be seeing a lot more of her on your screens.
Sorry, guys.
We get to meet more guests. Next week, we don't have anyone confirmed yet, but I have got a couple of irons in the fire. So we will confirm as soon as we have somebody available. But keep in touch. If we don't see you in the shop, we have got the online site. Any questions regarding the Academy, please do send them through as well. We are almost full for September. It runs from the 3rd to the 9th of September this year. So we're now taking bookings, and we've got quite a few bookings in for March next year as well. So that, again, it's the 3rd to the 9th. Always the first weekend. We start of March and the first weekend of September. So if you are keen, give us a shout and we can sort that out for you. It has got a separate website, just highlandwhiskeyacademy.com, and you'll see some more information on that. Kat, thank you very much. I would say for coming along and being our guest, because normally that's what we do, but
thanks for turning up to work.
Yeah, thanks for working tonight. We will catch up with you on Saturday. You're doing Saturday, hosting tastings mostly, I think.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. So, guys, if you're watching retrospectively, please feel free to use the chat box as you would normally, and we will check back and pick up any questions we haven't had the chance to answer tonight, and we will fire over some replies to you that way. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Kat, again. Ian, Dave, Rick, Phil, Mary, the rest of you guys. Thank you for watching on YouTube, and thank you for watching on Facebook. And we will see you all again very soon, hopefully. So, Slange va. Cheers.
Slange.